Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be installing a new Alcantara steering wheel for the Kia Stinger. I also ordered some carbon fiber pieces here to go on the buttons, if y'all can see that, and then a carbon fiber piece that goes here at the bottom of the square bottom there of the steering wheel. So I'm really excited for this wheel. I did order it at Shark Racing. It was less than half. So K8 Stinger store usually has everything you need for the Stinger, but on their website they had it for $500. If you use Shark Racing, I think it's like $235. So it's a big difference. Free shipping, and so that's pretty good. But before we get started, man, I would just like to say, prayers for those in Central Texas dealing with the floods, the folks that lost their lives and their families. My heart goes out to them. All right, guys, we're back. So first things first, once we get started, we want to disconnect the negative battery terminal line. That's going to be this one right here. And the reason you want to do that is because you don't want to get an airbag to the face, right? So we'll just disconnect the negative battery line. It will essentially disconnect any power going to the airbag. So once we disconnect that, then we can get started on the deconstruction of this steering wheel. So from videos that I've seen previously and articles I've read, there's two holes. There's one hole on each side of the airbag, one right here. You have to kind of fill around for it, and then one on the other side, right? And so you're going to need a screwdriver, preferably a small flathead, or if you have something like this, star tool, if the camera will, there we go. Something that's going to go through those little holes and kind of push. There's little metal pins that are in there that you have to squeeze inside. And so once you push those inside, then the airbag will come out one side and then the other, and it'll pop right out, right? Once the airbag is out, there's going to be 3 connectors. The main wiring harness, and then connectors for the selector buttons here and the selector buttons there, right? So I'll show once I get the airbag out. It will be difficult for me to do this since it's just myself recording this, but once I get the airbag out, and I'll show you guys those connectors. That way, if you do plan on changing your steering wheel on a Kia Stinger, it's pretty simple, it's pretty easy. The whole process should only take about an hour, so stay tuned. So we're disconnecting that negative terminal, cutting the power to the car. That way I don't severely injure myself trying to change out the steering wheel. So there it goes. And so typically, they say, hey, disconnect it after 30 seconds. The power is completely out of the car. I recommend, especially when you're dealing with the airbag, kind of wait a few minutes. So you disconnect that negative terminal, you open the door, it drains all the power out. Wait 30 seconds, but I'm gonna wait a few minutes. So after waiting a few minutes, the power should be completely out of the car. So it should be safe to kind of start working on the airbag section or portion of the steering wheel. So we'll get back to you in a little bit. Alright guys, so in addition, let's see if we can see those 2 holes. Alright, there's one hole right there, and then one on the exact opposite, okay? In addition to these 2 holes, there's one more underneath. Alright, so there's a little screw hole that has a Phillips head screw in there. We're going to remove that, and we got to pop this off. And so once we pop this off, we should be able to get to that third push pin. And then the airbag, you can tell that it's already loose. So once we get to that third push pin, the airbag should come on right out. A quick correction, guys. So I was wrong about that. You don't have to take off that take out that screw right there, but there's another small hole right there. It'll be right next to that screw hole where your little GT emblem sits. So that smaller hole is where you put your screwdriver in and push out that third push pin. And so I just did that, and the airbag came out no problem, right? So since we got the airbag out, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys these harnesses that you have to disconnect. All right, so up top you have your main harness right here, right? You have a connector here, all right? And then you have these 2 connectors. There's one that's purple and one that looks pink color, hopefully. There we go. All right, so you're going to disconnect those, guys. You can take a picture of it if you want, but purple's going to be on your right, pink's going to be on your left. All right, So you disconnect those, then you'll be ready to go, okay? And then so there's another little white connector right there. So you got a total of 3. 1, 2, 3. Pink, purple, white, right? Okay. All right, guys. So I was able to get one of the connectors off, and there's something you got to be known. There's 2 little orange push pins here on each side, okay? And unless you have fairy hands, it's going to be hard for you to get your fingers between those 2 sensors or whatever they are. So you typically have to get one finger here, right? And then a flathead screwdriver here, and do it simultaneously and lift up, okay? That's the easiest way to do it. If you try to pinch it with your fingers with both of them on, unless you have really tiny hands, you're going to have a hard time. Alright, so now that we got the airbag off, and I'm not going to lie, it makes me really nervous holding this thing, even though I know nothing can happen. It's just the thought of it. So we got the 3 connectors disconnected from the main harness, right? And you're going to have a nut right here, okay? So it's a bolt. And I want to say it's a size 21. So you're going to need a size 21 millimeter socket to get this bolt off, okay? So once we get this bolt off, the steering wheel should lift up and come out, hopefully easy peasy. And then we'll start working on the buttons and getting the little GT emblem thing off. And hopefully, my steering wheel hadn't even came yet, so I'm still waiting on FedEx to deliver it. It's supposed to be delivered today, so hopefully that's the case. If not, no big deal. But once the new wheel gets here, we'll be able to transfer these buttons over to the new wheel, and then hopefully we have some good pictures and photos for you, and give you guys kind of a step-by-step, play-by-play. So there's several other videos. Well, there's a couple other videos on YouTube that show you how to replace the steering wheel on the Kia Stinger, but I wanted to do a very detailed one because it seems like those guys kind of skip some steps and stuff like that. But this way, it'll give you a good idea of what you're looking at, right? And so to kind of show you those pins I was telling you about in the airbag, so those are the little metal pins that are in the holes. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. So you know exactly what you're looking for if you decide to take this on. Okay, so as I started to work on this this bolt, like I said, it's a 21 millimeter socket. You're going to need a breaker bar or a power ratchet like this because it's torqued down the spec, and it's not easy. So you're going to need 2 hands, one hand on the steering wheel, other hand on your ratchet or a breaker bar, and you got to turn this thing, okay? But it only took a few seconds, and I was able to break it loose. So let's go ahead and get this thing off here. All right, we just got Big Bertha off. Man, she's a biggin'. All right, so we got that off. Now we just gotta have to wiggle the steering wheel and pull it toward us to kind of get it loose. Hopefully it doesn't have the column lock on. Well, let's see. Hold on a second. I think I'm skipping a step. Sorry, guys. So it looks like we're gonna have to unscrew some stuff. So bear with me. Alright, so I didn't skip a step. It's just on there pretty good. And so you're going to have, let's see if we can see in there. You're going to see, move some of these wires, hopefully y'all can see. See those little teeth in there? So they set up in that groove, so you're going to have to wiggle and pull at the same time. Just going to have to put some elbow grease into it. But if you wiggle and pull, then it'll eventually come off. So one last thing. Thought I brought it up, but just in case, don't forget to disconnect this white harness, okay? That way you're not doing any damage to your steering wheel setup or steering column here. So make sure you disconnect that. We're going to get these buttons dismantled. We'll catch you in a little bit. Rear view of my office. This might as well be my 10x10 jail cell. This is where I spend most of my time working. So it's really hot in the garage, so I'm going to come inside to do the dismantling of the bolts. Looks like there's 2 screws on each side here. Sorry for the blurriness. I don't know what's going on with my camera. See if we can clean that up a little bit. Alright. Let's see. Alright, there we go. Alright, so each control attachment has 2 screws, right? 2 screws. We're going to take those off. And before I do that, 2 screws here at the bottom, I believe we have to remove the pedal shifters first. And if I remember correctly, they just kind of pop off. So let me look at this, guys, and I'll be back in a second. Alright guys, so that was the last screw, and so what we have is a total of 6 screws, okay? And sorry about the weird camera angles. But once those 6 screws are out, okay, for the radio volume controls, menu controls, you're going to have a screw for each pedal shifter. There's a screw there. And a screw there, okay? And so once we unscrew those, then the pedal shifter should pop right out. The volume control should pop right off. And then we should be good to go to transfer over to the new wheel once it gets here. Alright guys, so we got the first pedal shifter off. So once I got that first screw out, then you just kind of tug, put your fingers here, pull out, and you're going to hear a snap. It's not going to break. It's meant to do that. So just make sure you got that screw out and it'll snap out. Then you have one connector that you need to disconnect here. And then once you remove the pedal shifters, then that will free up the control knobs, okay? Alright, we'll be back in a second. Alright guys, now that both pedal shifters are off, now we just got to do some unscrewing. We're going to unscrew this guy, these guys, and these are going to remain, right? I believe that's the weight. So we're going to do some unscrewing, and then we're going to pop this cover off, and then we'll be able to get to the back of the volume control buttons, and then we'll be able to take those off. Alright guys, we just got that back off. So your steering wheel is going to look something like this. Alright, you leave that back plastic on, okay, because that's going to transfer over to your new wheel. And unless you got some carbon fiber bits, then you want to leave that on, okay? So now we're down to our last 2 screws, and we're going to undo these for the volume control and the navigation there. Once we remove those controls, then we'll have a bare steering wheel and everything will be ready to transfer over. Guys, I know this is a lot of steps, but like I said, I wanted to be as thorough as possible because there's some videos out there, they kind of skip all these steps. And if you're very new to this or you're not really mechanically inclined, I wanted to make a video. That way everyone can follow. Alright guys, perfect timing for FedEx. Literally, as soon as I got the last piece off of the steering wheel, the FedEx guys delivered my package. So let's go ahead and unbox this thing and see what it looks like. So I did just go with the factory Alcantara steering wheel. You know, I just wanted a little bit more sporty look. Something that looks nicer than your standard leather wheel. And then I ordered the carbon fiber bits to it. So, man, they packaged this thing up really well. I don't even know where to split it. Let's see. Alright guys, moment of truth. Oh yeah, look at that. Got the red stitching on the inside. Feels so much better. It's really soft. See how it compares to my standard GT wheel. Yep, same size, but man, that Alcantara feels so much better. Definitely looks a lot more sporty. Alright guys, so we're going to work on getting this stuff put back together, and I'll catch you guys in a little bit. What's up? Alright guys, now that the unboxing is over, it looks like it came with it came with a different color, the silver type of bottom piece. So this is my original black one. See how that looks? So that looks pretty badass. And then the silver one. So you guys drop a comment below which I should keep. But, you know, I guess in the grand scheme of things, not as going to matter because we're going to replace that with carbon fiber. But still pretty cool to know that I have choices. Okay guys, so first step is transferring this little piece here. That's the weight. Alright, so let's look at it here. You got 2 bolts there off the original wheel onto the new wheel. Alright, we're just going to work backwards. Alright guys, a couple pro tips. So when you're screwing these little flimsy plastic things back on to the whatever you want to call it, the assembly, use a screwdriver. Do not use a drill because you will break your assembly. Also, when you go to start mounting your buttons back, you have different screws. So these screws are pointed tipped, right? Those are for your button assemblies, any type of volume controls in your paddle shifters. These other flat bottom screws are going to be for mounting this bracket back onto the wheel. All right, so make sure you don't get those mixed up. Alrighty, so back, we got the volume controls on. Hadn't mounted them yet, but like I said, step by step, right? So the back piece here, we got 2 mounting screws back there. Show the reverse. Okay, that mounts this black plastic piece to the rest of the wheel, right? And then so we stuck in the volume controls. We still got to screw those down, and then we're going to slide the paddle shifters in there. And so once we get the paddle shifters mounted and the volume controls mounted, then we'll work on the airbag, and then we'll be all done. Hey guys, well, you know what? We're over halfway done. All right, so just to recap what I did here, finished putting in all the screws, all the mounting screws, the mounting points here. Okay, those are for the volume controls. That screw there, pedal shifter, right? Okay, here we got 2 last screws here to mount the silver piece, right? I decided to go on silver piece, and then screw that goes in there, and then we'll be ready for putting in the airbag, and we're almost done, guys. Guys, the time has come to install the airbag. That is a damn good looking steering wheel. I am very, very happy with this. It's gonna feel and look amazing. All right, so stay tuned. Let's get this bad boy installed back on the car, get the airbag on, and test it out. Yo, that is nice. That is very nice. All right, so now all we gotta do is we're gonna connect the main harness here. All right, then we got these bad boys that plug into the airbag. Okay, and then we'll be all done. We'll test out the buttons, make sure everything works. Before we connect the airbag, we got to make sure we torque this thing good. So I don't have the torque specs, but I will Google them for you guys and see if I can put it in the description. But you just want to tighten it as tight as you can, right? So make sure you definitely tighten this bolt down, otherwise you're gonna have another problem. All right, it's definitely time for my see if I can do this one-handed. Probably not gonna succeed. All right, guys, so you can see right here it shows you color coordination, so it's really hard to get it wrong. This little white piece here, that connects to that bad boy right there. So let's see if I can do it. Okay, this right here, and then the airbag should snap in place. So there it is. Airbag snapped back in place perfectly without an issue. Alcantara steering wheel is installed. So now we just gotta test the buttons, and we're good to go. Alrighty, guys. Moment of truth. Hopefully, no airbag to the face. Testing. Car started up just right. No lights. So get the menus. Alright, menu button looks to work. So we can scroll button's working. Okay, and we're gonna go for some music. Let's see. That's working. Well, hey, we did it, guys. Well, you know what? Thank you guys for tuning in, man. I really appreciate all the subscribers and all the likes. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. Leave some comments in the section, and we'll catch you on the next one.